Well, looks like we might need to talk about Graham Potter and his future. Now, first, let's talk about the match yesterday with Aston Villa that we ended up losing 2-0, which, yeah, we had our chances, but there's a few things we need to accept in that match. And first off is that Emily Martinez had a phenomenal game once again. This guy, obviously being a World Cup winner, just shows his worth each and every time he plays for Aston Villa. On top of that, we also need to talk about Emery and what he's done with this squad, with this team, because when he came in, I believe that Aston Villa was sitting at 17th place or something along those lines. I know they were kind of up and down with relegation at that point when they let go of Stevie G and brought him in. But the fact is that this guy has been able to turn around for Aston Villa, which really then makes people wonder if he was able to do that for Aston Villa, what is taking Graham Potter so long? Because both players or both managers came in the middle of the season. So it's not like they had the preseason like we talked about for Graham Potter. Emery's been in the same situation as Graham Potter, yet somehow has turned it around with the players at Aston Villa. And I'm talking about players that aren't these superstars. They are superstars, I should say. They're not worth the 100 millions that Chelsea just paid for. They're these players that are maybe going to go for 30, 40 million in the Premier League itself, and they're already Premier League established. The fact is that Aston Villa can do this and make Chelsea look even worse than they possibly could be is quite remarkable, which is why it's getting to that point we need to talk about Graham Potter. But I don't want to talk or take everything away yet from Aston Villa, because the fact is they beat us not just luckily. Yes, you could say the first goal for Oli Watkins was a little bit of a luck with Cucurella heading the ball back, but they outclassed us throughout this entire match. Yes, there were possibilities for Chelsea to possibly get back into the game, maybe score a goal, even take the lead early on, that especially with Modric, who we will get to in a second. But really, Aston Villa, you have to applaud their performance yesterday. And again, I know as a Chelsea fan, we're going to talk about the negatives with Chelsea, but you also have to look at how well Aston Villa have been doing. And therefore, again, it's frustrating as a Chelsea fan, because if they can do it, why can't we do it? So going on to Chelsea, and again, the performance right off the bat, had Modric pass that ball to Kai Havertz, which again, I do not understand what he was doing and actually why he even started it. That's a question by itself for Graham Potter. But if he plays that ball to Kai Havertz in the first couple minutes of the game, this whole match is played way differently. But the fact that he tries shooting it with Kai Havertz sitting wide open inside the six is quite remarkable. And this is one of the problems I'm having with Graham Potter, especially for this match, is why did Modric even start when we all know he had a poor performance over international break for Ukraine? We have Noni on the bench, who, like I said, had a pretty good international break for himself. Yes, I know it's the youth squads, but still, this player has been playing pretty well even in the Premier League, and yet for some reason isn't getting the starts under Graham Potter. And we went with a guy who's really been out of form, Modric, who, again, did not show his worth. It's really questioning what we paid for this guy, but still, there is obviously time for any player. But from what we've seen so far, it's been pretty poor. And again, we saw it in this match multiple times. He probably should have scored, if not played it off to another player, and that player should have scored, but still, it did not happen. And that does come down to Graham Potter with his selections and his choices. And this game itself was another questionable squad selection, because I do understand Reece James playing as the right CB. We're not trying to run his legs like crazy, his hamstrings, which have been having issues. But if you're worried about his hamstring, then bench him. Don't put him in that position. We have other players that can play really, really well in those positions. Shield, Koulibaly, both those players are better at playing right CB, in my humble opinion. Or again, we can move around some of our other defenders. But putting Reece James in there, and again, we're questioning his fitness, his concern, then don't put him in there. Put him maybe on the right wing and take him off in the 60th, or bring him on as a sub like we did with Mason Mount, or we didn't even do it with Mason Mount, but with our other players, Conte and all these players that, again, we weren't too sure on. But yet Graham Potter puts him there. And again, our back line, they were not confident. You saw that in that first goal. Cucurella and Koulibaly, miscommunication. That by itself comes down to that back three, communication, and who really should be there. And I don't think, again, it's not Reece James' fault. He's being selected. He's going to play that position. But like I said, if we have other players that can play those spots, play those players. Reece James is a better right winger, or if we move him up into the midfield, I'm not sure if that's ever going to be an option, but still, right CB with the players we have on the bench, it did not make sense. On top of that, like I said, Modric starting was a big question as well. I understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to maybe mix and match our top 3 players. We have some injuries, some illnesses, things along those lines, that all the players weren't fully match fit, but still, I just, it gets to this point now where Graham Potter really is being questioned by me, myself, which I know I've talked about in other videos where we're going to support the manager each and every day until he's not the manager. But at this point, I could definitely see us parting ways with him. Again, I'm going to say that he's going to be there for the rest of this season. We obviously have Champions League, which we've done quite well under Graham Potter. So maybe that's where Todd Bowley's waiting to see how that plays out with Real Madrid. Because, again, if we win against Real Madrid, then everyone's going to flip the switch and saying that, yes, Graham Potter's the right manager for this club. But it's so difficult to see us play well in the Champions League and see so poorly in the Premier League, because with that performance against Aston Villa, I'm not even sure Europa League or the conference is even tangible now for us with so few games left. So again, next season might just be FA Cup, League Cup, and Premier League, which that might be the best option because we can just solely focus on the Premier League, which we did that quite well with Antonio Conte when he was here and we ended up winning. But you obviously bring in all these great players. You want to play in some type of competition out through Europe. And again, for players we want to bring in next season, if we do not have anything, it's going to be very, very difficult to convince players to come in, and especially with the manager right now that really it's been questionable. And maybe if we bring in a higher caliber manager like Nagelsmann, maybe that then draws other players to come to Chelsea. But right now, it's going to be very difficult. Graham Potter's still the manager, so I still back him. But again, I can completely see if we let him go or something changes for us, it would make total sense. And I would think Graham Potter has to understand that then too, why it's changing. So we will see. I mean, that's all we have today. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe down below. Comment down below what you guys think as well. I want to know what you guys think. So that is it, and I will see you in our next video.